Hello and welcome to GM Tips. GM Rick here. Hopefully you're hearing me okay now. For whatever reason, sometimes when I run these things, depending on how I set the settings, some of them are good, some of them are bad. That said, we're going to be talking about designing and running a campaign in a post-apocalyptic setting. Now, there are a lot of systems out there that lend for it, that are designed around a certain type of apocalyptic setting. Now, as we get into this, name off for me as we start doing it. I want to hear you saying these out loud. What are the most common apocalyptic settings? Number one, zombie apocalypse. Always. The zombies are it's an obsession right now with people. Let's have a zombie apocalypse. And it has many flavors. There are the 28-day later flavors where they are mutated by a rabies virus to go nuttier in fruitcake. There's the crazies. Remember the crazies? Um, then there's all these ones like World War Z and all these other books and The Last of Us, the new video games that came out where they turn into fungus type of zombies. Everybody loves the zombie, and there's 50 different spins on it. Okay, so that's one. Even Resident Evil. I mean, Resident Evil kind of led the pack with the zombies, and Left 4 Dead and the Evil Dead, and let's just keep going on. There's so many different ones that you can do that. The virus, the super virus, so the last ship, the virus that kills everybody off, the plague, the black plague, all these type of things that are killing off whole civilizations. The nuclear apocalypse. Hey, what is the world without, like, sort of Shannara, where the nuclear apocalypse occurred and people were mutated, and the trolls and the gnomes and the rest of them came from the mutations, and the dwarves. They're all mutants. So we have all those settings, right? The star blows up. Oh, we love that one too. You know, going the asteroid impact. There are just so many different ones that are the common genres. The weather, the climate. But let's look at some other things. We're going to look at the just designing a apocalyptic setting. Now, there are ones out there like Darwin's World or the one after Darwin's World. It's this. It's in the same genre with the Darwin's World creators. Exodus, Texas. Um, um, the apocalyptic one. There's a whole apocalyptic series that come in books. There are different types of apocalyptic things. Um, God, what other ones are out there that are apocalyptic? There's quite a few different apocalyptic titles. Um, but I'm talking about a system that allows you to adapt your apocalypse to where you don't have to buy 60 books. So let's look at some systems that lend well to an apocalyptic setting. Number one, Open Legend RPG. Even though I'm a huge Paizo fan, you guys know that. I'm a Paizo guy, I'm a D&D guy. I love Open Legend for the simple fact that it can be adapted to any genre, any type of apocalyptic genre. You want steampunk? No problem. You want uh, fantasy? No problem. You want superhero? No problem. You want Shadowrun type of setting, no problem. And Shadowrun could be adapted into one as well. That's the nice thing about some of these apocalyptic settings. Um, so that's one of the systems that I really like a lot. I like the mechanics. It lends really easy for it. Brian and his crew there have done such a tremendous job. Brian Feister, I believe you pronounce it Feister, don't you, my friend? Does a tremendous job of just promoting that game, and it has really become. I can't wait till my first one arrives with Mr. Feister's thing. And Brian, if you really love me, man, you'd sign the inside of Rick's. Sign the inside of GM Rick for giving you the love and the props, my friend. No, seriously, you would honor me if you ever signed the copy. I would be just hugely honored to get a copy with your signature in it because I think you've done so much to win my heart over to it and the system really is easy to use, guys. Second, love these guys to death. Monty Cook Games. Shanna, Monty, the whole bunch. You are such a tremendous group. You guys even asked me if I wanted to GM at Gen Con, which I wish I could have made Gen Con. I would have. Had I been there, had I could have been there, I would have GM'd your Numenera, no questions asked. And I would have even learned Cipher System to do it. So the Cipher System, which I'm going to talk both. They've got two settings. They've got the Cipher System, which is the generic setting, which Numenera comes off of. And then there's Numenera. Both are apocalyptic. The nice thing about Numenera, you can set the age. You don't have to be in the medieval time. It's basically every so many ages, and this is the ninth age in this case, civilization in the world resets itself. It doesn't necessarily get rid of all the tech and all the things that are there. It just resets itself. Some event. And usually they don't know what the event is, the race that takes over and resets. So that's a kind of cool thing with Numenera. So Numenera, Cipher System both lend really well to an apocalyptic setting. D20, either D20 Green Ronin or D20 the original D20, which is tougher to get. You can still get it out there. But either one lends really well to a generic setting where you use material to write your campaign based off the D20 system. So if you know 3.5 D&D, if you know 5e, if you know Pathfinder, really easy to work with. GURPS, generic role playing. Hey, I love you guys. And the generic system, it's a D6 system, but they have apocalyptic settings that you can easily do. Vampire the Requiem. Can set the apocalypse. The vampires are there. Maybe they're all being turned human again with a human virus. All kind of fun there. Easily set up for an apocalyptic setting. Okay. Some other ones that you may or may not know of. Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds has a lot of apocalyptic settings that you can use for it. Deadlands Reloaded is a perfect example out of the Western genre. So pick your systems here. Now, Fate, another one, easily lends over to that. There was one that Howie Roll did, and I'll be dinged. It was about this rift that opened up, and it's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember it. And it's another one you can get, and I will look it up, and I'll put it in the friggin' bio if I have to. So, quite a few systems that you can use for apocalyptic setting. Okay, I'm just picking the base core system rule set. Shattered is coming out. Shattered RPG. They're on Rev 8. I have waited and backed this. Cool idea for their apocalypse. Okay, so if you want something that has a little more set setting, you can go that way. The other ones allow you to totally do your own setting, however you want to do your setting, in whatever genre you pick. Okay. Yes, you can do a fantasy RPG setting with apocalypse. Look at Galarian and Pathfinder. What was the world resetting event? They brought down the Aboleth brought down the Starstone and crushed the Aslanti Empire. And by doing it, they set an apocalypse that literally reset everything. Everything. So there's another one. Starfinder. Galarian's gone. But what bigger apocalypse do you want? It has disappeared. So Absalom Station is what is left of the races of Galarian. And many other races that have come and gone. Interesting setting. They got rid of Galarian. So Starfinder, another fun one. D&D. Dark Sun. Maybe you guys played the Dark Sun campaign in the earlier years. Oh, I remember when it came out for 2.0. I was so freaking pumped. Such a cool setting about the fact that the sun is going slowly but surely, the resources are going, and you are in a resource-limited world. Fantasy set, but resource limited. So really cool, and magic kind of weird on that world. Also, Eberron. Eberron, another great apocalyptic kind of setting where it's more steampunky and things are kind of a little more tech versus magic. There's magic there, but there's some integration between the two. All right. Your airship pirates, guys. Abney, my Abney guys. Abney Park. Abney Park did their own role-playing game, Apocalyptic. Gotta love it. So there's several different systems, and that's the first thing you've got to do is pick the system. After that, you got to pick what the apocalyptic event is. Now, you don't have to tell your players the apocalyptic event. Put some mystery in it. Put some distance between it. You can either have them be a part of trying to stop the apocalyptic event, and it happens, i.e. the world wound in Pathfinder, where the demons are going to take over the whole world, and they've ripped a rift, and gee, what happened if it would become a demonic world? There was a book series that was read off of London becoming demonic. Remember? Does anybody remember it? If you do, shout it out. I'm not going to tell you, but it's there, and you want to read it. It's, yeah. So, did it happen through the God's War? Did it happen through a Ragnarok? Did it happen through a dying out of the age? Did it happen through an apocalypse with nukes? Did it happen with another type of apocalypse? Maybe it was chemical or biological or magical. Maybe you had a magic apocalypse. Boy, that would sure alter the fun of that world, wouldn't it? Especially with you have dead zones and warped magic zones and fields and magic storms, kind of like Alkenstar and Pathfinder with Geb and Nex. See all these fun histories I pull out a little bit. What about a simple biomutation took people out? What if it just was simply that a unnamed event happened? You know as the GM what it was, but it reset everything in the clock. The knowledge was lost. The people died in masses. And what was left didn't know how to rebuild it all. Maybe it was because of a necropolis. So it was a necropolis event where the dead armies came up and destroyed everybody. Maybe it was a vampirism plague that took everybody out. Maybe it was a Nosferatu plague. Maybe like the Strain. Have you guys seen the Strain? That's an interesting one. Different take on vampires, different take on all the genre. But again, it's an apocalyptic event. Maybe it's a shifting of the planes. The planes shifted into the prime material plane and caused an event, i.e. the mist. There are so many apocalyptic genres, folks. You don't have to settle on the big three, as I call them. You know, maybe a comet came by too close. You remember the one that turned everybody to kind of undead, or turned them to dust, or just warped them or mutated them? Maybe that's the event. Maybe there was an event like, you remember when all the machines took over with the lawnmowers and everything, and all the machines. What was the 1990s movie that was called? The trucks, all the machines took over and killed off mankind. Maybe it's something like Terminator. You have to pick the genre and why. Maybe Cthulhu invaded, and it's an apocalypse because of the god in yellow, or the king in yellow, or Shub-Niggurath, or something else came along, and it's all gone. You have to pick the genre, and you have to. And what I would do is I'd probe the players a little bit. I'd ask them, what kind of genre really kind of gets you going for an apocalyptic setting? Because that's what I'm thinking of, doing a post-world and a survival world. Maybe they're trying to regain something. Maybe they're trying to rebuild something. Maybe they're trying to build out of the ashes. Maybe they're trying to restore things back to where they were. Maybe they're trying to find that answer to why it all happened. Maybe they're trying to find the cure. You have to set something there that really strings them in. But try not to use the same old, because what happens is we get bored with it. We know the answer. We kind of know where it's going. Come up with something unique. Like a Mayan event where the calendar hit that, and all of a sudden, poof, everything happens. You just never know, right? So you can really do it. You can set the setting: fantasy, steampunk, superhero, superhero apocalypse. We're trying to save the world out of an apocalypse. It could be space age. It could be retro. It could be Neanderthal or prehistoric. It could be any type of setting you really want to set. Then you got to set the resources. What are available in that current setting? How hard are they to get to? What bars the hero's ways from getting to them? Because obviously, resource constrained world, or maybe it's not. Maybe resources are abundant, but the dangers that surround the fact that it could kill the players are huge. They go anywhere and get the resources. The problem is, spend the time out there long enough and see what happens to you. Vampire world, boy, that doesn't lend to you going out and hanging out too far from the living, does it? And you're constantly watching over your shoulder. So those are the kind of things you got to look at when you're doing those type of settings. What type of resources are they going to be? Advanced resources, modern resources? I kind of like Numenera, where even if your players find the resources, they don't know what they are. They just kind of use them for what makes sense to them in the current setting. So some of the stuff is something way different than what it was intended to, but can be used for what the character needs it to for a one shot or a two shot or a limited time, or maybe it'll be longer term if they can figure out all of its properties and how to really work with it. So again, really set kind of the knowledge base. What do the knowledge skills give you? Do you understand? Is there a way to get knowledgeable? How would you find the knowledge if it's not there? Where do you go? What do you look for? Who are your sages? Who knows about it? Who's survived and kept the oral tradition going long enough? And so they're going to have to locate the resources to know how to truly use it. Otherwise, it could have a backfiring effect, which again ups the play level and makes it really cool. And that's what I'm going for here, folks, is the cool factor. Now, I'm going to keep you guys probably about another 3 minutes, and I got to go get the fiance from work. And I got started late. I wasn't feeling too good today, but I was working hard. So those are the type of things that you can factor into it. How do the different skills work? What classes are available? What aren't? How are they affected in this new apocalyptic thing? They have rules in both D&D and Pathfinder, and I believe in Open Legend, that talks about magic warping type of situations that things don't quite work right. And so you got to make a roll to make it work right. Otherwise, it backfires and has some other totally different effect. Could affect the player, could affect the characters around him, could affect everyone, can have some harmful effects, could have good effects, could start a storm, could cause major chaos, could cause the death of the players. It can become a very challenging situation. How is physics affected on this world? How are medicines? How is healing? How is food affected on this world? Is there food? Is it limited food? Is it good food? Is it contaminated food? What effects does it have on your players? You can draw out areas and kind of give yourself that knowledge, and figure out what the players would know from their backgrounds going in. Okay? And what's the end game goal for the campaign? Is it to establish trade with another area? Is it to help people because they're having a famine? Is it to cure a sickness? Is it to get into space and get off of this dead world? Is it to go to another plane? Is it to go to an alternate reality? Is it to warn the alternate reality so they don't do the same thing? You have to set the tone. Do you want alignment or not? Do you want experience or not? How does advancement go? You can look at these depending on your system. What kind of boons and banes do you want to make for that world? All that stuff comes into play. The cool part is you get to design it, and you can take the resources, look at great ideas, and put your spin on it. As long as it has some semblance of sense, and your players can follow it and not say, wow, that's a real stretch, they're going to like it. Okay? So, again, a lot of great resources. And I want to thank great people like Brian Feister, Monty Cook Games, the bunch over there, Green Ronin, Wolfgang Bauer of Kobold, the Paizo crew for all the cool ideas they've come up with, the Wizards folks, Palladium. Um, God, there's so many game companies that are out there. Thank you guys for the cool genres you come up with. But I was looking out the store and I saw just so many cool titles and thought about that and thought, now here's something different that a lot of people do. If you have your ideas, if you played it in a different genre and set it up, share the ideas with the video, share the ideas with us. Keep kind of this thing going, because what I want to do is build a repository that people can look at and really look at building something like that and making it successful. Thanks again. This is GM Tips, GM Rick out.